Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 68 of IGEL Weekly. This is our corporate edition discussion around a blog. I've got Chris Feeney with me from IGEL. Chris, how's it going?
Going well, Andy. Always a pleasure.
You at home this week?
I am. No travel, catching up on stuff. A lot of good things to get done today.
Good for you. I'm plane to Boston, train to New York tonight. Wake up in the morning excited about doing about halfway through the day. I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do to myself? I will tell you that this week I am traveling with my Windows device because I was in a pinch. I actually had a homeowners meeting last night that I had to run the Zoom for. So I've got Windows in my hand this week, but last week I went around with a thin client, a lower end piece of hardware, very low end piece of Lenovo hardware actually, that had Chrome OS on the OS, and then I had a UD Pocket in it. I spent the entire week mostly using the UD Pocket. Interesting experience trying to travel and use a thin client laptop. It is much more doable than ever. Not perfect still, but much more doable than ever.
That's good to know. So
while I'm introducing you, I've got to start doing this on some of these podcasts. What are you using right this minute? Are you using what are you using for your setup at this very moment? Just in short detail.
Yeah. So my home office setup, I've got my IGEL UD7 with 3 monitors plugged in. A VNC or RDP, depending on what I'm wanting to do that day, to my Windows laptop, which is in a docking station. So that's what I normally do when I'm at home.
What are you doing right this
minute? I have that's exactly what I just described. The Zoom call is running from inside my Windows thing, but I've attached to that device from my IGEL machine.
So are you offloading Zoom to the IGEL machine, or are you running it native inside the virtual desktop?
It's not offloaded at this point. I have a setup for that, but I'm not doing it at the moment. We're having this conversation,
and that's fine. We'll probably talk about every time going forward, just to kind of get brief insight. But so you're actually running the Zoom inside the RDP virtual desktop?
Correct.
Okay, so you're not relying on any offloading, so you're just relying on the power of UDP and a very fast network.
Correct.
Okay, awesome. I mean, that's reality. When you're on a LAN or a high-speed WAN, that actually works. Now, the one thing I would say to that is it's very important that if you're going to do that you have GPU pass-through enabled for your, in your case, you're using a physical, so you don't need, so your GPU is there, right?
Yeah, I've got an NVIDIA GPU in this laptop, so it's not a performance issue generally. I can run a lot of stuff on it, but I have definitely experience where I have the webcam and my headset plugged into IGEL and I RDP, and then I basically offload or redirect or whatever. Mm-hmm. And
so you're technically not doing VDI. You're remoting into a physical laptop.
Correct. Yeah, we IGEL is, I think, currently they've handed out AVDs for a few folks. I think the global initiative will probably expand that to the rest of the company at some point. But
yeah, and that's a very real use case. I think a lot of people don't realize using physicals to present virtually a session. Got several customers that are doing that, 20, 30, 40 at a time. That's where the HP Moonshot thing came from way back in the day. All right, Patrick Toner is our solutions architect at XenTegra, the subject matter expert on IGEL. Patrick, how's it going?
Going good. Morning. Enjoying the sunny weather down here in Florida and my daily rain. So yeah, can't complain.
So if you're enjoying that now, you're really going to love it come November.
Yeah, well, listen, November, I'm going to be a happy person because there's not going to be, I'm not going to be transitioning into winter. So I'll definitely be happy when come November, December, basically all through March.
Yeah, by February next year, we expect you to have a nice tan.
Yeah. Don't hold your breath on that one. Unfortunately, I did my ancestry. I'm almost 100% Irish, which didn't surprise me. Depending, if you look at my skin complexion. Thankfully, all of my children have gotten my wife's Italian complexion. Answer to prayer right there. So they all suntan, and I just hide under an umbrella. That's our general beach day.
Yeah. Hey, same question for you. What are you currently using at this very moment? And it doesn't matter if it's if it's native Windows or Mac or if it's VDI, whatever. What are you using at this very moment to do this webinar /podcast?
So this podcast, I'm on my Microsoft Surface device. Now my configuration is a little, so I have that in front of me. I'm using my EPOS headset. Shout out to EPOS there. And then I also, Andy, before this started, we were talking about something I was pushing out to your device. So I have my LG Gram sitting next to me running IGEL, and I actually have published a RDP. Well, you guys can't see it; it's blurry, but I have an RDP session where I can always just quickly access my Azure server. So I got that. That's my setup in front of me right now. But the Zoom call, I am on my Surface tablet running Windows.
And I think that's not uncommon for people like us to do your job during the day. You're going to use, say, virtual something, ideally from a thinner OS, like a stripped down Windows or Linux, aka IGEL or Google. But as far as the unified communications, it's hit or miss. Like I would 100% be using Zoom from my, had I been in the office, but I'm traveling for 3 or 4 days, planes, trains, automobiles. And so I brought Windows with me for this trip. But the truth is, if I was sitting in an office, I could easily just get away with VDI, offloaded Zoom session.
You said something last time, Andy. I think you said you were on a subway or something, or on a train in New York, and you were connected to VDI. And I was thinking about how 5G. Chris mentioned 5G. That has changed so much. Where when I was covering New York at IGEL, I was in New York every week. There was no way I could have done that 3 years ago, right? So it's definitely gotten a lot better, with 5G.
And that's a whole other topic we should talk about at some point. Where is 5G currently real? I know it's going to be, but is it currently real? I have situations where I wish I was on LTE again because I've got 8 bars of 5G, but the performance is horrible. And I think I'm just in bad spots. And I don't think real 5G has hit us yet in most places. I think it's this kind of pseudo 5G thing, and we're all get caught up in the marketing guys.
Yeah.
So for today's corporate blog, we're talking about this new thing, really revisiting some old things that have gotten lost in the shuffle here. And this is where several companies have gotten together and created this thing called Digital Workspace Ecosystem Alliance. Let me pull up the screen here to tell you who's involved in this thing. Make sure I get it right. I know it's the guys from Cameo. Gotta make sure I have the right screen here. Yep. Guys from Cameo and IGEL. Those are 2. But what this thing is the idea that we are going to have this true, unbiased ecosystem that helps us understand the digital workspace world in such a way that it's educational, not necessarily marketing and sales towards whichever product we're hoping to implement. Guys, help me out on the screen here.
Scroll down to the bottom. I think it lists all the vendors.
Okay,
down
here we
there.
go. So Alliance member Cameo, AppCure, which I don't even know what that is, Device Trust, Direct Print, Fortinium. I hope I'm saying that right.
Fortinium, maybe?
Fortinium, Liquid, Login VSI, Policy Pack, Triceratops. I do think this company called XenTegra plans to be on that in the coming weeks. But we met with them last week. But super excited about supporting these guys because that educational piece of what makes up a digital workspace is very much needed more than ever, because it used to be, publish some apps, digital workspace. It used to be make SaaS available, digital workspace. It used to be some VDI or some server hosted digital workspace. Then it became, activities and workflows. Now all of a sudden, digital workspace means so much more than it used to. I'm glad to see that there's an organization coming together to kind of help educate our industry on what a modern day digital workspace is and how you get from none to somewhere to completely attacking it with all the capabilities that are out there. Thoughts on the idea that there's this alliance, guys?
I think it's great. I think that, it's kind of cool to see. I mean, I've recently become more familiar with Cameo. I always knew it was out there, I've known about it for some time, but really until recently just started to kind of get a little bit deeper with it. So to see, these different technology vendors get together and kind of have a forum where people can come together and thought leaders can talk and, kind of maybe map out where each company's going. I think it's great. I mean, that you want that type of collaboration in the space. That's the only way that things are going to really, there's going to be true innovation.
Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I remember speaking with these guys last fall. I want to say September, October timeframe. getting a sense of what they were trying to do, and impressed about, just that vendor neutral approach to bringing people together to really kind of talk through and provide those resources that we're looking at here a little bit on this website. But also kind of get a sense of, where things are going. There's been a lot of change in the industry. Several years ago, I was, doing research and as a product manager, and I relied on, surveys and other things to kind of get a sense of, where is VDI, how prevalent is it, that type of thing, get a sense of, these digital workspaces that were beginning to evolve and emerge and show up in more and more places. So it's just gotten even, more advanced, I guess, with the, onslaught of the cloud and digital workspaces there available. So
I think the word you're looking for is more. It used to be that it meant one thing or this thing or that thing. Now it can really bring it all together in front end, current phase as well as where you're going next. If you do it right, while simplifying the experience for the user.
Well, yeah, I mean, even just like Cameo, like take that one specific technology, right? I thought I didn't realize like how seamless that technology was. I mean, they were, I was going through their like technical videos and everything, and they're just taking applications similar to what Citrix does, but they're taking a Windows application and making it basically a web page, a tab in your browser. And my first thought was like, man, that would be a great integration with IGEL. I really hope those companies work together, right? So it's cool to see them together here, because I mean, where Citrix has always done that through their protocol. I mean, Cameo, it does it in a little bit of a different way, and it seemed really simple. And I just thought of like how many customers I knew right off the top of my head could benefit from that type of technology, and quickly publish it to something like IGEL, and how simple that would be.
I mean, it brings x86 app capabilities to the the SaaS players world, and all of a sudden, for a lot of organizations, they're done. They single identity, single sign-on, multi-factor challenge, and SaaS and x86 apps all available at the same time. For a lot of people, that would solve their use case for digital workspace.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So I should call out the name of this blog is Share Your Thoughts Today on the State of the Digital Workspace in 2022. This is by Divya Sagar. Sagar or Sager? How do we say it on the IGEL?
Sagar is fine. Yeah, she's our director of the IGEL Ready program.
Yeah. And just to highlight again, 2022, it's been, I don't know, since Brian Madden used to do his thing back in the days, it's been, I don't know, 5-6 years. This is well overdue for a refresh. And it's good to see, a nonprofit coming together that can be made up of lots of members that have their own input into how to position this, and then how to, ask the industry for feedback on if they're positioning it right and what the numbers are to back it up. I will tell you guys, I am working with some folks in this organization to try to come up with a nice PowerPoint presentation that takes the current guide they have, which really just explains this space, and turn that into a PowerPoint so we can go around educating people on the space, and then turn around and try to help them implement the solution that fits their needs.
Yeah, no, great. I don't know if we mentioned it earlier, but this survey is open until July 31st. So we just have a few days left. So I'll send notes out there, but it is open there. And then they're going to publish the results in August. But there is a chance to win some gift cards. So
let's, have you guys taken the survey? Let's talk about the survey a little bit. What is in the survey?
I have not taken it. Let's you got a few minutes here. Let's do this live. If you're watching the video at some point.
I don't, Patrick, why don't you take over the screen and walk through the survey? As I mentioned to you guys earlier, I've got a flight to catch, and it sounds like you two going through maybe the questions in the survey. Patrick, if you want to jump in and maybe skip the first page where you're typing your password in that you want to use or not.
Cool.
But I'll tell you, I'll stop sharing. And if you and Chris want to take the next 30 minutes and just kind of go through what's in the survey and discuss, the question and why they're asking it and whether it makes sense, and
Sure.
good for both the people who watch the video later, but also for the people listening, is if we can just kind of cover the contextual piece of it.
Sure. Let me go ahead and share
Sorry
that.
to put you on this.
That's all
Sorry
right.
to put you on the spot.
Andy, we're gonna let you go, man. Looks like you already dropped. Nope, still here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
You said 10:15.
Yeah. So Patrick, you might not want to do that part with the screen share.
I think
I think it's just they give you a password to type in, so it's not like anything super secret here.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry. I didn't read that correct.
all right, here we go. Now we're going. All right, let's get to the meat of this thing.
Let's do it. So the first question here: which best describes your organization's cloud strategy?
Hey Patrick, before you do that, notice in the bottom left-hand corner where it says accept the cookies.
I just want to hit reject all, right? Go ahead. Sorry. Want me to just get that off of there?
I like cookies. Just take them all, man. I like chocolate chip, oatmeal raisin, even peanut butter, macadamia nut, raspberry, white chocolate chip.
Man, sorry. There was no preparation for that, Chris. You really
just
right off the cuff there.
Subway. Everything double.
I think you just named every type of cookie that exists. But
lemon shrimp, barbecue shrimp.
Exactly.
All right, Forrest, what do we got?
All right. Here we go. Which best describes your organization's cloud strategy? There's 4 choices here: single cloud, hybrid cloud, and on-prem only.
All right. And, how do we want to answer this as if it was we were a company, or what you guys are doing at XenTegra? How do you want to do that?
So I would say put yourself into the role of a company that would be answering these questions, and just try to walk through it, and maybe just give a little context and go through the questions just so people know what it is they're asking about.
All right. I go with C, hybrid of cloud and on-premises.
Yeah. And I would agree. That's probably most companies that we talk to, right? Most companies I talk to personally, they're either C or D, right? They're either hybrid between cloud and on-prem, or they are on-prem only. And they want to move to some sort of hybrid. It's very rare you work with a company or customer that is 100% single cloud. Well, the weird thing is here, and I'm just thinking out loud here. Hybrid. What's the difference between hybrid cloud and on-prem? Are they saying, are you on 2 different clouds and on-prem in C? Is that what it's saying there? See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Up for debate for sure. I would say hybrid cloud could potentially mean 2 different clouds.
Yeah, that's probably what that would mean. So, I would say, then I changed my answer. Most companies are in B, C, or D. It's very rare I see everybody in just one single cloud. You come in, oh yeah, we're 100% AWS. We have no servers. We have nothing. Everything is in AWS, or everything is in Azure. I know that they're out there. I know there were a few that took the plunge. But most companies are either in the B or C, or they're D, on-prem only. But even those companies, I mean, they have some sort of strategy. It's almost impossible at this point to not be in the cloud in any way, shape, or form, whether you have a SaaS platform that you use at your company. Now, with that said, I did recently speak to somebody at a very large financial company, and they actually have a directive where they're going more back to the old way of they're having their own private cloud. They have a lot of applications that they've built out, custom applications, and they're trying to get off of one of the big cloud. Not totally off. It's going to be a hybrid model, but they're trying to hedge most of their environment back to on-prem. So very interesting. I mean, so you see a mix of everything. A lot of companies, and Microsoft's been luring a lot of companies into Azure and giving them a lot of incentive.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the things, we ask customers all the time, hey, what's your cloud strategy? Because everyone has one. And, it kind of just opens up that conversation. And it's very rare. They're like, hey, we don't have one at all. We just want to be on-prem forever. Very rare. So we'll go here with C. We'll go hybrid and on-prem. All right. which takes me to the next question here. What percentage of your workforce is, there's 3 categories: remote, hybrid, or in office. You can pick, 0 to 25%, 25 to 50. So, this is kind of interesting, right? And Chris, I'll get your thoughts here. We've seen a lot of people go remote and hybrid. Obviously, IGEL was positioned well for that when COVID hit. But what would you say? A lot of the customers and companies you talk to, what are they? Where do you see a lot of this? How much of the workforce is remote? How much of them are hybrid? How much of them are 100% in office?
We are starting to see the hybrid, it was remote, obviously, for the period of time that we had, but it's starting to become more hybrid. Remote is certainly accepted, but they're opening up the office if folks want to come in, and they might come in for 2 days a week or something. Have we seen 100% in office? No, I don't think so. So if I'm filling this out, I would say, probably 25 to 50%, might still be remote, and probably the same hybrid. I mean, really kind of all things. Now, will that change? It's interesting, right? I look around and, when I'm driving in new places, I mean, kind of see some office buildings and kind of get a sense of, is it occupied? Does it look like it's vacant? Lease not renewed, that type of thing. So that's a telling sign, when folks aren't coming back in the office. But, I think I would say you're starting to see more of the hybrid option. I mean, even, I don't know about you, but traffic, you're new to the area there in Jacksonville, but my sense is that traffic certainly has picked up quite a bit, in the last, certainly this year around town. So it's like people are definitely coming back into an office environment to work, that type of thing, based on just how many cars are on the road. So, I don't know. Interesting to see.
It is, it's rare. So whenever I talk to people, I'll ask, ask them where they work or whatever. And you'll have some people, for example, my wife's cousin is a nurse. I have sisters that are nurses. There was never obviously an on-prem or hybrid model for that type of work, right? Those are people, they had to be on site. That, that's the nature of their job. Outside of that, and those type of jobs where, jobs that don't require you to be there. Basically, most people who work in an office, who work whatever, I think about my dad. My dad was in an office full time before this happened. And then they went, I think, 100% remote for a while. And now he's in a hybrid scenario. That's most people I talk to are kind of in that world, right? Where they're in a hybrid. I would say, if I had to put a number on this, just based on conversations I have with people, I think a lot of companies out there are going to be maybe 0 to 25%, 100% remote, right? I shouldn't say 100%. 0 to 25% are fully remote. I would say, probably 50 to 75% are going to be in that hybrid space. And then another 25 would be in office. And that's 0 to 25. It might be closer to the 10, 12, 15%, 100% that are fully in office. You just don't hear it as much. You don't hear workers who have the capability to be remote being forced into an office 5 days a week. I say forced like it's just to show you where our mindset has gone, right? It's like they're forced in there. Well, that was normal, in 3 years ago, but now it really is viewed as probably a disadvantage to a lot of employees. Hey, my employer doesn't do that. Maybe I look for another employer that's allowing me to be hybrid. So I'm going to plug these guys in. We'll do this. That's my just take on it. I don't know if I'm right. So here's the next one. Which statement is true for your organization? A, we expect that at some point, most of our people will be back in the office full time. B, the option for our people to work hybrid will be permanent. Or C, the option for our people to work remotely will be permanent. So this is one I'm glad I was gonna ask this sort of type of question on the last one. I had a feeling something like this was coming. What do you think about this, Chris? Because I really, I have some thoughts, but I'd be curious. What is your take? What are most of the people you talk to, most organizations, where do they fall in this?
It's interesting. I think for those that had offices, they sent everybody home. Some of them have gone the direction of we're not going to open up a new office. It's going to be, remote all the time. But I would say that can't be the case for all organizations. So it's probably going to be a B would be the, uh, the folks that can come in a couple days a week to the office and work, or if there's meetings where they just leverage that office space. But working remotely is not frowned upon at all, because people have realized many of the benefits from it. So I guess I'm curious with B, does that mean they're saying you have to work 2 days or 3 days in the office, and then you can also work from home, or remotely or whatever?
Yeah,
Basically, that's the weird part of, like, if a company's starting to force that, I'm like, I don't know.
well, so
I mean,
a lot of
yeah.
people I know who are in that hybrid mode, they have a choice. So they're, and again, every organization is different, but most of them that I talk to, it's like, hey, I get 3 days a week from home. Maybe they do what's called hoteling, right? Which is, IGEL kind of fits in that mix, where you have a bunch of cubicles in a room, but nobody really has an assigned desk. They all just have a thin client device that sits there. The user walks up, they log in their credentials, boom, they have their virtual desktop. But I would interpret B, obviously if we unpack that and we go, there's deeper layers of that onion, right? You have different camps. You have this camp that says, hey, we only have enough desks where we've downsized our office space. So you literally can't come into the office 5 days a week if you want to. And then you're going to have other companies that are like, hey, look, we have the office space. We like this hybrid model. We find that our employees are more productive. So we're just going to give them the choice, and that makes them happier employees. So I think you see kind of two different camps in that. B, the option for hybrid work will be permanent. But I think just to even unpack that a little more and take it a step further, I think that's probably where most organizations fall. They fall somewhere in that B range. There are guys out there. There's people out there. I mean, I like. I don't know if Chris. I'm sure you're familiar with Dave Ramsey. I like to listen to his podcast sometimes. And he's kind of like that old school uncle that everyone has, who's just like, you don't want to talk to when you're spending money in not a good way. So whenever I listen to him, that's, I get a lot of buyer's remorse, and I realize, man, I need to save my money and do better with it. But he's old school, right? And his approach on this, and for his organization, he says it, listen, we have been in the A category, that we are full-time in the office. Obviously, there's probably salespeople that are remote, just like any company. Salespeople have to travel; they're on site. But he's like, if you work for this organization and you have an office, you're on-prem 5 days a week, right? We're not changing, and he believes in that, right? He believes that that's a culture that's helped them become successful. And I've talked to a few people like that, and I get it. I have a good friend of mine who works in insurance. His company is like very, very, old school like that. They're saying, listen, we like the camaraderie in the office. We want people here. So he actually just relocated for work. They moved him down to Florida to start a new office. But he goes into that office 5 days a week, and he's the only guy in there right now. That's just their culture. It will be interesting to see how it sorts out over the next few years here, because there is that debate. Are people more productive? I think most people are. I know I could speak for myself and Chris. You and I were in this model before COVID, right? We were used to being hybrid.
I've been a remote employee for the majority of my career, 15 plus years at this point. So I have noticed the reverse. Like if I go, like back in the day when I went to the office, I would see people and it would be an opportunity to go have quick conversations, maybe, get to know, we build that camaraderie, that type of thing, not necessarily getting a ton of work done and checking things off the to-do list all the time. I had certainly opportunity and space to do that, but when you have a chance to be with people that you don't often see, and for me, always being remote, going into the home office was like it was a treat, especially if I was remote, but I had a position there where I needed to be in a collaborative environment, working with other folks for 4 or 5 days in that office, and then I go back home, and so it was a challenging year for me in that respect. But there's no doubt about it. You just look at social media, people saying, just all the benefits they get from the not commuting. But I can totally see the other argument too, the culture piece. There's going to be give and take in a lot of places there, and it's hard to build culture looking at a video all the time. It's just, because I've been on calls where I'm just sitting there, and I'm doing this, or maybe I'm working. I got a little hand strengthener, and so I'll be sitting there, and somebody like sends me a note on the side, be like, "Everything okay? You all right? Tension?" I'm like, "I'm just sorry. I'm just working my hands."
Right.
It's in fact, I've got it right here for those watching the video. It's just a little,
there you go,
grip strengthener. So, but that can be interpreted wrongly sometimes, right? Like somebody's angry. I'm like, no, I'm just.
It's weird. I saw you reach for that thing when you started listing all the different types of cookies. So, that was
this is my cookie strength.
Yeah.
I just right to the mouth.
Right. Got to burn the calories as you're consuming them, right?
That's right.
But so you hit on something there, Chris. It's I've thought about with this whole thing, right? Because when I started IGEL, back in the 2018 or whatever it was, I think it was beginning of 2018. I was coming out of a healthcare organization where so my employer before that in healthcare, we had, I believe it was 1 day a week work from home. If I remember, I think I had 1 day a week, and we all, basically there was a group of us in the office. We all kind of had to pick different days, so it wasn't like everybody could be Friday. I think I was able to get Monday, which was not highly sought after for some reason, and I loved it. So I always felt like, okay, on Monday I can just kind of wake up, go to my laptop. I don't have to worry about my commute or anything like that, and I can just kind of get in the loop. And I just would go down to my basement and work, and it was great. And but we had a CIO that was very much like anti that, even that 1 day. So there was like kind of always like a pushback. It was always like a risk it was going to get canceled. And now, granted, I was in healthcare, but I was in the IT department, so I wasn't, I didn't need to be on site most of the time. I mostly worked from the office and did things more remotely anyway. But there was for sure a benefit to the camaraderie in the office. Like a lot of us would go grab lunch together. Sometimes, we'd be like, hey, we're going to go take a lap around the building. You would just connect with people in that way, right? You get to know each other. You ask each other about your families. You ask each other about what you did over the weekend. And it's not just like, hey, whenever I see you on a webinar. So I think there is something to it. I think we kind of, this shift has kind of made that part a little more difficult. You don't quite connect with people the same way. Now, what I will say is, on the flip side, when I moved to IGEL, I was obviously fully remote, right? I worked from home, or I was going on site to customers. So most of the time I was traveling, and then I would be on, home. I would always get most of my work done when I was home. That was like, work would kind of snowball, and then I would get home and I would be like, I just create checklists and just knock stuff out. That was the only way I could operate. But what I noticed was, before COVID, going on site and being with the customer was the most effective thing you could do as a salesperson, right? Because you're getting to know them, you're seeing their environment, you're kind of living in their day-to-day world, you're helping solve problems that you see, right? After everybody made the shift, the transition is kind of, people are more comfortable now with being remote and being over a video conference. Most customers are not like, hey, I need you to come on site so you can see this, right? I need you to come on site so you can see my day-to-day, what I do every day. Mostly they're working from home now, 3 days a week. And so that has changed so much that I guess what I'm getting at is the impact of being on site or being forced to be on site or have to be on site has really kind of not been. It's really changed in the sense of you can still get a lot of the things done that we were doing on site on prem, doing it remotely, and that's been kind of eye opening for me. So, thoughts on that, Chris? I don't know if I communicated that well.
No, it is. I think there's definitely a shift, right, for those. I've been in those shoes where you make that visit. And I've covered in my sales career, I've covered a large territory as well as a smaller one, and making those trips, whether it's in the car or through plane or whatever, and going on site, gathering data, meeting with folks, observing what you see, and then pointing things out, that maybe they don't notice, but you do, and then you're able to bring that into the conversation. Not being able to do that, you kind of have to envision working with them through that, but also folks understanding that what, they can't be here, so let's try to talk through it a little bit more, and add additional details. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just trying to find out if there's a problem that you can help solve with a solution that you might be able to offer. So, but yeah, I do think there's that comfort factor, getting used to working remotely. I think what some lessons learned for me. I mean, I know we're on a survey, but don't crowd your day with meeting. I mean, that just block time off. If you've got openings on your calendar, just block time off to just get some time, non-Zoom calls, that type of thing. If somebody pings you on Teams or whatever, certainly, but take advantage of that time when you can try to get some of that stuff done on your to-do list.
And it's a great point. And I think it kind of transitions nicely into this next question. Really, the purpose of this whole survey, which we didn't spend a lot of time on here, but it's, hey, how would you characterize saying that right? Characterize your organization's digital workspace strategy. And really, this is the thing that, I think we should have probably spent more time on. Unfortunately, we're running out of time here, but this is kind of the crux of it, right? Why has the transition been so seamless for so many organizations? And the answer in a lot of cases is the digital workspace. Just having this ability to having those tools available to you to be able to be delivered to you no matter which device you're on, no matter what type of, we talked about it earlier here. We're recording a podcast. All of us are in totally different places. Andy obviously had to run to his flight, but he looked like he was in a hotel, I would assume.
Yeah.
I'm in a new house where my office isn't quite ready yet. So I have a little folding table set up in my bedroom, and I'm able to work on, I have 2 laptops here. I'm able to get all my work done, and I have this digital workspace. We have a Citrix VDI environment. We have an Azure tenant, right? And I'm able to get in, access all the things I need to access. And also we have this, Zoom, we have unified communications, we have Teams. And I'm able to very quickly, another one we have is Slack, which is a great tool. I'm able to very quickly, connect with people. We have a sales, platform where we can kind of share notes. I mean, we're extremely productive, right? Being in all over the place in all different parts of the country. And the reason is because we have a very solid digital workspace strategy internally, and we're able to leverage a lot of different kind of little components to that bigger picture.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because last week I had 2 days of travel, back-to-back day trips essentially. And really, it's kind of like when you get to your destination, it's like all I need is an internet connection. And then once I'm online, then I can access and do what I need to do. And, that's very freeing.
Yeah.
Knowing that, especially if you think about like, hey, we have to escape, like in some areas of the country, there are literally people, evacuating because of environmental things, fires, whatever. But just knowing that, you can, get out of that area and then still be able to get online or whatever and communicate. And it's very freeing knowing that. And certainly going back to, so well, where do we house our stuff, right? If you're, the nice thing about Azure or AWS is that it's multiple data centers that you can replicate across. And if one happens to be under siege or whatever, maybe a big tidal wave or whatever, obviously they take that into account. But there's others there that are there for redundancy. If you are in a situation like in Charleston, South Carolina, was this weekend, they experienced flooding, and they have, there's this one hospital down there that is I think they're looking at, leaving the downtown area because they had a new facility or whatever like that, and their first floor got flooded back in one of the hurricanes, and they're just like, you know what, we're just tired of dealing with it, and so they choose to vacate that particular piece of real estate, and maybe some equipment got destroyed. I don't know if their IT stuff was down there. Usually the basement is unfortunately where hospitals put those things, but sometimes you got to bring them up to a higher level. But anyway, I got off on a tangent there, so apologies to our listeners. But yeah, I mean, just that freedom, knowing that you can be out and just get on and get some stuff done, and I don't know. It's I enjoy that lifestyle personally. I feel like it's very, I can be productive in that. And anyway, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I think, I mean, we've talked through this a little bit as I've made this move. So I've mentioned it to you guys on the podcast a couple of times, but going through this process of, I started at XenTegra back in November. They said, hey, here's a credit, get a laptop. Here's a couple we recommend. I kind of knew exactly what I wanted to get. I really like the Surface laptops and their docks and everything. So I went with Surface, right? And just really easily able to connect into the Citrix environment, have access to Citrix share file for, we use that for our internal files that we do for statements of work and things like that. And so I can really quickly, access that information. Now, the beauty of making this move down to Florida is having that type of a work environment. Everything was already there, right? Everything was already living in that digital workspace. Mm-hmm. I could do everything I needed to do in my job really from any device pretty much, I mean, whether it's an IGEL device, whether it's a Windows device, I need something where I can quickly access our Citrix environment. We have unified communications for Teams and Zoom offloading, and it's really nice. It's just nice to be able to get in there. Andy's generally on this podcast from a random place, right? And he's a lot of times doing it via his IGEL device, and he's using the offloading. It just makes it to me as the employee, or to a lot of the listeners as employees of their companies. If you have a good digital workspace strategy in place at your organization, it's going to make you more productive, and it's going to allow you to get more done no matter where you are, and which is a blessing and a curse. We can't really touch on that one, but the reality is you can really from anywhere in the world access your work stuff and get something done on a whim. Someone hits you up on Slack or Teams, hey, I need this done, can you help me? Okay, I can access it, I can get it done. Versus the old school model of like, all right, I have my work laptop with me, let me VPN in, let me see if I can find that document, hopefully I can access the share. It was a little more complex. Mm-hmm. Where now it's like, yeah, I can get in and get this done pretty much anytime. So we're kind of running out of time here, Chris. I think, we'll publish this. I'm actually share this on LinkedIn. There's probably, I don't know how many questions there are here. But I would encourage everybody who's listening, hey, check this thing out. And, it's Digital Workspace Alliance is the company, DWEA, or DWA, was it?
EA, I think you had it right. Yeah.
EA. All right, there we go. We'll kind of share this with the podcast, but yeah, by all means, take the survey. If nothing else, it's a good thought exercise, right? It's good to kind of understand, hey, well, where are we going with this, and what is our strategy? So we'll end it there. I know we only have 5 minutes here, and I don't want to go over, but very good stuff, man. Appreciate the conversation. And Chris, we have on Thursday coming up, we have our monthly IGEL workshop. So I want to just give that a plug real quick in case anybody's listening.
Do. We've got a good one, good topic: custom partitions.
Yeah.
We for those who are wondering what in the world I just said, the ability to take applications that are not already built into the firmware, and those would be things like a browser like Firefox or Chromium, or the Citrix Workspace app, 3 versions of it, I might add, or the Horizon client or something. And then you say, hey, I got this cool browser called Edge. Oh yeah, that's a Microsoft product. Well, you can install it on IGEL. It's actually quite nice, Linux version of Edge. But there's many more other types of things you can do. You get the Zoom client, naturally. They have a Linux version of it. How do you install that so you can run it natively on IGEL? Well, we're going to talk about that, and you get a chance to roll your sleeves up. And you got a special guest, Mr. the Godfather of custom partitions, I like to say. Mr. Ron Nair is an amazing colleague and a very big contributor to the IGEL community, and looking forward to having him with us on Thursday to walk through this very important topic. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a really good one. It's one that pretty much every customer, once they understand that the options there, the gears start turning, right? And Edge specifically is a great one for everything we're just talking about, right? I mean, I know Andy and I have talked about this. I don't use the Outlook client natively in Windows. I don't think I've used that thing in like 4 or 5 years. Every now and then I have to randomly use it for something potentially, but it's very rare. I just go to my browser, go to office.com, and I'm in all of my different, Outlook, and I can go into my OneDrive. I can open up Word files. Edge is probably going to be my preferred browser, even from Linux, if I'm going to have to do that. So it's nice that I can take that, deploy it down to IGEL devices, and boom, I'm in office.com, and I'm accessing my digital workspace.
In fact, when we did your kickoff, XenTegra kickoff in January, I brought my IGEL laptop with the UD Pocket. So it's my LG Gram. I just pulled up the Edge browser, logged into office.com, connected to Teams inside of Edge, and then we jumped on the meeting. So we actually were presenting live from my laptop, the presentation coming all out of a browser. It was that easy, and I don't think there was any issues with displays or anything like that. But it just was super, super cool. But the thing for me was I could launch Teams from within Edge, and it worked just fine, no issues to join that meeting. So, well, I certainly appreciate it as always. I know Andy probably is hopefully boarding at this point, so on his journey up the East Coast. So look forward to having him on, I guess, next week. So
yeah, absolutely. Chris, thanks for the time. Everybody who's listening, thanks for sticking with us. Hopefully we'll see you out at the Custom Partition workshop. And if you want more information on that, you can go to XenTegra.com, go to our workshop area on the webpage, and you can register and all of that. So Chris, thanks again. Everybody, you have a good one. And I guess we'll talk to you in August. Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Hard to believe. All right.
Have a great one. See you guys.
Bye.